I need to get some cool intro music like Gordon has or Ruben has, because I'm just not that cool, I guess. Hey, everyone. Looks like we've got about 40 of you now, so we go ahead and get started. I will try and talk a little bit slower today since I got some pointers that last night I got a little fast on my talking, so I'll try and slow it down as much as I can. If I do get a little fast again, say something in the comments and I'll try and catch it and slow myself down. So everybody, welcome back to Mission Control, as I like to call it here. And today we're going to talk about capture, internal and external. I've never really done a class on the external capture, so we'll see how this cookie crumbles. I think we'll have a good time though. So we will do all things capture. So usually the first thing I do in my regular classes when we talk about capture is to talk about the capture settings window. So let me go ahead and switch over to the mobile, and we'll go ahead and get that open. So we do open workspace window in the capture visualizer settings, and we'll start off with the camera window here. This is used in the camera. It is used for positioning the camera and capture for Turtle how it looks. The first one here with my mouse is moves the camera back and forth and left and right. The middle here moves the camera up and down. And the third one orbits our camera around our point to show how it looks. And actually here let's get silly with it. And let's open up capture also. Actually show that instead of just talking about it. So let me get we'll pick a playback to throw up. We'll throw this one up. And really, hold on here, let's reload the show. Oops. This show file and capture seems to play a little funny sometimes. There we go, now it seems to be working right. So let's put that off to the side here. Let's do open workspace window, capture visualizer settings, and move back to the camera here. So we'll see here if we grab this one here, I can move the camera back and forth or left and right. If I can move it up and down, or I can orbit the camera around to see my setup here. Let's see, that should do about right for this class. Our next tab, we also have some preset ones across the top here. That's what these are. We can have it go to different presets. This would be top down. This would be from the stage right side. This would be from stage left side. And this would be from quote unquote front of house. We can also set it up into a four view, have all four here. We select just which one we want to manipulate at a time, or return it back to the full screen. If we click on the next tab over to the stage tab, Here's where we can add objects into our internal version of Capture. Of course, with the internal version of Capture, all you can add in are the is a box. This is because the consoles don't exactly have the hottest video cards on the planet. So if we're trying to, have a lot of things that we're trying to emulate, it would start dragging the console down. And sorry, I'm trying to my watch and do not disturb, so it stops buzzing me. Uh, if we had a lot of objects like truss and people and band gear and all that, we would start eating up the processing power. We want our consoles to process our DMX, not make Capture look pretty. To add a box in, we simply click down here at the bottom here and select the box and add it, and we can give it 0 depth or 0 height to make it like a floor or a wall like we have on our current one here. The next tab over we have is the Appearance tab. Here's where we can control things like ambient lighting. I've got the ambient lighting turned down pretty far on this one. We'll go and set it up to 100 so you can see the stage here a little bit better in this particular show file. We set our smoke density so you can control how the smoke looks in our capture file. So, we had it back there. You can set it down to 1% and have hardly any smoke, or 100% and have it a little bit thicker. I'll set it back to 30, which is I believe what I had it at. And you've also got smoke variation, basically how the fog looks in the room, or the smoke. Control how it varies and looks. This would be one if you don't have if you've got a slower computer or maybe a really large show file, you can kick this bad boy down a little bit to help control the processing power it takes. Exposure adjustment, bloom amount, those are both deal with how the camera handles lights pointing at it. I usually just leave those at 0. Then at the bottom, we've got render settings, detail, low, medium, and high. If you got a large show file, I would consider kicking that down to low. You have a little bit less detail, but more power being sent to our DMX. If we have, something mid-grade, we can go in the middle. This computer I'm running on is actually probably better off running on medium than high, so we'll actually go ahead and leave that on there today. The next tab we have over is the Show tab. From here, we can import and export capture shows. As of version 13, which is what I'm using today, it uses the 2019 version of the capture component. If you're using an older version, see here, version 11 was Nexum. If at least I think I got that right. Now I'm suddenly having a brain fart. Hopefully Sam is correcting me as we speak, because he probably is, because that's what Sam does for me. In version 10, we used the Atlas version of Capture Components. So if you're importing from the full version of Capture, you need to use the version that matches up with the version of the software you're using. Also, think to word to the wise again, don't go importing large show files with lots of all that stuff, lots of truss and band gear and all that other stuff in there, because you're just going to drag your performance down on your console. I usually just knock all that stuff out, as we see here in this show file. I took out all the truss, and you'll see it in the full version of Capture in a little while here. But I take all that stuff out and leave in just the stuff that I need for this actual show to narrow it down. It's pretty good way to handle it, I feel. To export, you would simply just export it here, import, same thing, hit the button, navigate to one, and import it. The other two buttons we have down here at the bottom are auto update and wipe. Auto update, if it is left on, if you add new fixtures or patch new fixtures, they will automatically update. If you leave it off, they will not. Wipe, just like it sounds, it wipes the capture show and takes it back to default settings, so all your fixtures just in one line rather than nicely organized like we have here. And that is everything in our settings window. One second for me. So to edit fixture, or to set up stuff in our capture show file, to move fixtures around, so for a quick minute, let's do a new show file. So I'm just going to do disk, new show. Let's name it test 1. And then I'll just go to patch view, personality list, I'm just going to patch in 10 BMFLs real quick. So I've got my fixtures and my groups here. I'll go up more to this window, capture visualizer. Once you get patches in, let's do this. Let's also crank up that ambient lighting for right now to make it easier to see. We see here we got all the fixtures in a line. One thing about capture to remember is that when you first put fixtures into the capture visualizer, it puts them how most of us would consider sideways, so that the tilt works stage left, stage right, not upstage, downstage. So one of the first things I do is I select all my fixtures, and then over on soft keys here, on soft key G, the bottom one, I set it to wheels equal levels, the default. I take it to wheels equal visualizer. And then if I go to my position attribute, I can see that I can now control my fixtures to move them around. So the X is going to be moving them left and right across the stage. Y is going to be up and down. Z is going to be forward and back. Let's center that out a little bit for a quick moment. If we go to, we hit position again, as you see, we got the little blue arrow here. It means we have more things to control on that set of wheels. We need our orientation, which is going to control the orientation of the fixture in the X, Y, and Z axis. I always take my Y to 90. That means that now my fixtures are panning and tilting up and down stage and not left and right of stage. And if I hit position again, I get to rotate, which rotates the fixtures as a group. So if I was to, like here, to use the Y rotation, we see that the whole line of fixtures is rotating at once. I can just click on it. If I click on the value, I can then type it in and take it just straight back to 0. It was easy for me to just do it that way. If I, really? It's a little funky. Hit position again, takes it back to position. If I look at my context menu on capture while I've got the wheels equal visualizer, or just in my context menu, remember that on the Titan 1 and Sapphire, it's going to be this 4 lines button. On all your consoles, it's going to be just the left of soft keys B, C, and D. I can also control things from captures here without going into the full settings. I can turn on the quad mode on or off. I can move the camera around. I can go to camera positions. I can hit exit once. I can also turn on fan and change my position to orientation or back to regular position. I also turn on fan and rotation that way. With fan, what's nice is if I have my fixtures in a line here and I want to spread them out, I can either go to fan there or just hit my fan key. And then if I do my X position, see it's actually spreading my fixtures out. I'll make this a little larger. And if we go in, we'll go ahead and turn on that quad view. Oops. And apparently my fixtures have gotten in a odd line there on the Z-axis. So we'll do is just click on this and we'll type in 5 and then hit enter. And it took all the fixtures and put them back properly in a line from me mucking about with them earlier. And do the same thing with our Y. We'll just make it all 9, enter, so those all look square. They do. All right. So we see we can move them around there. Other things, if we go to color, don't do anything on a moving light. The beam attribute on a moving light is going to turn throws. You have throws light, yes or no, invert pan and invert tilt. Invert pan and invert tilt work just like they sound. Allows you to invert the pan or tilt like you had inverted them on the fixtures menu to maybe help them match up to your real world fixture. Throws light. Let me go ahead and locate these fixtures. Basically turns off the beam through the air, right? So you see that it turns the beam off in the capture visualizer. Why would you want to do that? Let's say that I've got a wall of fixtures, and we'll see that in the show file I was mucking about with earlier when we go back to it. You don't necessarily need that beam to the air because it's about the pixel on the wall fixture, right? So you can turn it off, maybe save some processing power. Or if you're using a dimmer for something other than an actual par cannon, you're using it as a trigger for your confetti cannon or whatever. You can have it be does not throw light, so it doesn't take the extra processing power to have that on for no good reason, or maybe house lights or anything that you don't really need to see that beam in the air. You can just turn it off and save yourself a bit of processing power. If we go to the effect attribute, it has nothing. The same thing with special. Now, if we were to patch some par cans, so we'll go into patch again and dimmers, and we'll set our quantity to, let's do 10 of those also, and then hit patch. And then we go ahead and select our dimmers and locate them. Oops, let me get all the way out of patch menu. And locate them. We can see we got our beams coming out of our fixtures. If I go to the position attribute again, we can move them. Oops, I still got fan turned on. Move them left and right. We'll move them forward of our movers. And then if we go into our other attributes, if we look at color, you have red, green, and blue here. So you can quote unquote gel your par cans. If you wanted to make it red, we could turn down green and blue and see that we now have red par cans. Or if we want to have them green, we could turn off the red and just turn up green, and we now have, why is that not looking green? It's a very odd looking green, but we can have green par cans. Or we can turn everything back up and take them back to no color, so to speak. If we go to our gobo, there's nothing there. If we go to beam attribute on a dimmer fixture, we have our zoom, so we can make them wide or narrow beamed. We can control the focus of them to give them a more soft or fuzzy edge. Same thing with rose light. We can turn it off or on as we need. If we go to our effect attribute, we've also got vertical frost and horizontal frost. So instead of making it look more like a profile fixture, you can make it look more like a par can by putting some frost on there, just to help them look more like the real world. If we go back to position again, we can also rotate and orient them. So if we go to orientation and let's see here, we'll adjust the Y. Nope, that's not the one I want. X, I can just point them a little bit more upstage instead of straight downstage. So then if I go over here and mess about with my frost, it might be a little easier to see. I'm just using my scroll wheel on my mouse on the wheel to make it move it. So that's most of the basic stuff on the basic capture visualizer. Remember when you're done to click your wheels from visualizer back to levels. So when you're trying to control the pan and tilt on your fixtures, you're not just moving them around in the capture and confused why nothing's working. Let's see if the comments seem to be working to right today. Oh, hey, Cully, thank you for answering the question on the capture version. Oh, you're right, it's 2018, not 2019 for captures for versions 12 and 13. My bad on that one. Yep, fix that, Randall. There's no way of turning the inverted capture dimmer into something other than a par can. Yes, you can patch a two-way mole as a fixture, and that should appear as a as that. So if we go into our patch view, so we'll clear these fixtures out. We'll hit patch view, and we type in what do they have it actually under? Is it under mole? For light LED mole, but that's not what we're after. It might just be under blinder. So let's do it. Blinder space generic. No, that one's not coming up. Let me see if I can find it here. I know this. I know that it has the fixture in here. I know I've got an 8 light. Maybe it's just a 2 light. I just type in 2 light TE. No. Let's try 8. Sorry, I know it's in here somewhere. I've just got to find it. Let's try this first. Let's do. Let's just scroll and look. Oh, yes, there's like a generic 2 light. So if we patch one of those, and we'll just hit patch, and then we'll find here's a generic 4 light patch. And let's see here, I think they've got an 8 light in here also. And then you've got, with your 8 light, you've got the different channel modes. If you have it 2 DMX, will be 2 channels horizontally across it, 2 channels vertically, 4 channels horizontal, 4 DMX, so we 4 channels or 2 channels. We'll just do the 1 channel for today. We'll patch them. We'll exit out of patch. We'll go to patch view or back to capture, and we'll select all 2 lights, and we'll hit locate. And then we'll go to our, let's see here, position here, wheels back to equal visualizer. And then we'll orient the fixture to point more at us. Go to our beam effect, and we'll turn throws light off. Then we'll go back to position, and we'll bring it towards us. And we can see now that it's a 2 light blinder. And we go back to beam, we turn our throws lights back on. You can see it there. Same thing with our 4 light and 8 light. We'll go ahead and hit locate on those. And then let's go to position, orientation, go to position, and bring our Z, bring it forward, and turn off our throws light again so you can actually see the pixels of the fixtures, and you can see that they're kind of on top of each other. So let's go to position, and let's turn on fan, and we'll spread them apart from each other a little bit. There we are. You can see you've got an 8 light and a 4 light there. Does that make sense? Let's see here. Wondering if it's possible, and if so, how to import items into Capture rather than using generic blocks. You would have to use the full version of Capture to do that. And we'll show how to. I guess we can try to show how to import a show file here in a bit, but I generally suggest against it, as I said earlier in the video, because you're going to overtax the processor and the console, since again they don't have the hottest video cards on the planet. We don't want to keep our consoles processing DMX, not making Capture look pretty, right? And generally, what I always say this in my classes: if you want Capture to look pretty, buy the full version of Capture. It's worth every dime. I bought it before I worked for Avolites, and I still maintain my own version that I actually pay for. I updated to 2020 this morning on that. We'll actually show that here in a minute. What I can do here is let's reload our show file that we had at the beginning of everything here. Unless there's any other questions with some basics of it like we have here. I'll wait a moment and see if anyone has any while I take a sip. Yes, quite dramatic, quite dramatic. Okay, since I haven't seen any questions, we'll go ahead and switch back to the other show file we had running, and we'll show some stuff with the full version of Capture, also, and show the link between the two. It's not patched. I want to go to disk, load show, internal, mini academy. This one, since it loaded correctly, actually, that's not the right one. least I don't think. We'll find out. Ah, yes, that one will work, I believe. Let me patch. No, this is not the right one. It's that. So let me reload the other show file. Sorry, problem with using my personal laptop, which is full of show files, and sometimes I forget which ones are which. All right, there we go. Capture's working good on this one. So we'll switch back to our slides for a moment and talk about what we have here. The capture link to the full version, auto sync between the full and external capture. So if we patch a fixture in the full version of capture in our console, it'll automatically be added to the full version of capture. If we patch a fixture in capture, it can be automatically added to Titan. If you move fixture in one, it moves them in the other. We use active fixture to patch already built capture shows. This requires capture maximum or higher in version 11 and higher of Titan. Unit in capture is legend in Titan, and channel in capture is user number in Titan when you're copying them across. So let's see how well this little screen here works. So we'll see here, I've got the full version of capture down here in our bottom corner. In our towards our upper right, we've got the Titan interface, and just below that, I've got the other screens on on capture, and so we can show some stuff with there. So if we obviously we fire playback here, we can see that it happens on our full version of capture and our internal, and we can see that we've got the got in here. I got a full band set up, and for some reason this file has trees in it. I don't quite know why it does, but I guess it makes it look cool. If we are to go ahead and make their capture window here a little smaller so we can see some stuff. If we were to select fixtures, say our Roby spiders, and let me turn up the ambient lighting in our internal again, just so we can see stuff for right now. Actually, that's a little much. We'll go with 80. There we go. Obviously, if we select our fixtures on our internal capture, it also selects on our external capture. So if we select those fixtures and we were to hit locate, we can see that they are selected in red in our full version of capture, and they are also selected in light blue like they do on Titan. So we can see that we both have the same fixture selected on both. Now, what's cool from here is if I go with to have my wheels equal visualizer, which I already still do, if I move them here in Titan, we'll see that they also moved over in capture. So if I position it in one, if I reposition it in one, it'll reposition it in the other. Let me do Avo back to undo that. If I go over to capture with my mouse here, oops, I made that one a little far away, and I select the fixtures here and drag them around, we'll see that it does the same thing in Titan and actually made it move there. Reach my keyboard so I can Control Z to undo that. So you can see that it's really handy. You don't have to sit there and do everything twice. You can just do it once per show file, which is kind of handy instead of having to do it twice. If you another nifty thing that the full version of Capture will do is say that we will go ahead and select, we'll do our BMFLs. Oops, let me turn the wheels back to levels. Select my BMFLs and hit locate. And then I go into Capture and I right click on a spot. I can see that I can have all of my lights point at that one spot. Oops, got it moving around a little bit there. It gets a little, if you sit there and hold your mouse for too long, it gets a little wonky there. Give it a second to get caught up. There we go. So we see that all my fixtures are now pointing at that one spot. Let me go to my beam attribute on this and make the zoom nice and small. There we go. See that a little bit better. So I was right click on, we'll make that large, make it a little easier to see it. So on capture here, you can see my mouse. If I right click on it, we can see that they all move to that particular spot. Now what's nice is if we go back to Titan, we can see in our position attribute that that is put into the programmer. Because the little blue dots do it. It means it's not in the programmer on the console I'm on. It means it's on a secondary console, or in a console if it was in multi-user. But you can then take these and actually make a position palette from it by, if we just double click in our position palettes window, it should record that. So if we hit clear and then we select those BMFLs again and we hit locate, oh, whoops, they're still in captures. We'll do clear all programmers, reselect them, and then hit locate. And we tap this position palette, and it didn't do it, just make me look stupid. Hold on here, sorry. Clear, delete, delete. Oh, that's right, because I'm doing it backwards here, staying on here. Sorry about that. Locate, go to beam, we'll make them nice and small. Then on capture, if we send them to a position, we'll right click here and send them all there. And then on the three little lines button here, if we click that, and then we, no, it's not there. Sorry, it's on the dot button. I record in Titan to set that as a position palette. Type, set our position palette, mode fixture, and then hit record. And then if I hit clear on the console and clear here, so everything's deselected. Whoops, and I'm sorry, I didn't have the right screen up for showing that. Let me start it over then. We'll just do delete you. So let me get capture screen up here. So I have the right one up, my bad. So I'm just going to select my BMFLs on Titan and hit locate so we can see them, and we'll set our zoom to 0 on Titan. Now if I right click on the capture screen here where we see my mouse, see that everything points to that one spot. Now if I click the brown dot button here in the corner, I can click it, I can click record in Titan, and it gives me the option of making a position palette, mode type fixture. Please select the palette and groups, so the palette and window group or queue. In this case, we just got the position palette and we hit record. And then I can click, right click on, click on here and then clear on the mobile. And we'll hit clear on the mobile. And if we switch back to the Titan mobile, we now see on this palette here that it recorded that position palette. So if we hit grab our BMFLs and hit locate again, select them, locate, and send our zoom to 0. And now click this beam palette, or this position palette, we see that all my fixtures go to that position now. You also see that the icon, the legend for it is a picture from the from capture. I went a little fast on that. Let you guys get caught up for a second and then see if you have any questions to this. And no, Ruben, no face. I don't know if we locked up again for comments. Last thing I got is say I'm making things more clear about clear all programmers. And thank you for making that a little clear. How can you get palette legends from the basic capture? From the internal capture, you cannot. That is a feature between the full version of capture and Titan. Jay, it's from the full version of capture from external. Let me see if I can make this. We'll get a little silly with this. We'll go to full screen there. And then we'll go full screen on the mobile. Now you can see that that legend there. Let's get even a little more silly with it. Let's do 1, 1. And then if we scroll over to it, see here, we can find it. Aha. There it is. You can see that it put that icon as the very first one there. And we'll just do right click on Avo and go back. Oh, it doesn't undo that. So, wasn't sure if it would or wouldn't. See, that was 6 by 5. Enter. And put it back in its place. Does that make a little more sense there, Jay? Yeah, I think Sam's right on that. I think that Capture would want to keep that one in their pocket because it makes buying one of those things that makes buying the full version of Capture worth it. It's not a feature I use super often, but it is kind of handy when you do have it. Let's see here. So since any questions on this part of it, there's a link between the full version and the external capture. We'll do show how what happens when you're patching from a full version. Actually, let's actually patch a fixture in on Titan to show what it looks like in a already built show file. So go ahead and hit clear here. And we'll hit clear, press and hold clear, then clear all programmers, just to make everything sure as everything is cleared. And why are you? Why are you staying connected here? It's acting a little funky, showing it selected when it actually isn't. Call that a capture hiccup then. So it is what it is. Moving on from it. So if we are to patch a fixture in Titan, so we'll go in here to Titan, we'll go to patch, and we'll go to patch view and personality list. Let's see here. We'll just add a new BMFL to it. We'll set HDMX line to line 20, which is what I believe I have here. Address 1, and then hit patch. We see that here it's patched on Titan. And now if I go over to capture on the screen here, we'll see that it popped up in the window here and says console patch, and we see that our new fixture is there. I can then drag it into my show and place it, and we'll do it, so we'll place it right here. And then I'm going to make sure it's on the right layer here. Whoops. Selected item, layer, put it back on fixtures. There we go. Now we can see it here. And I can position it around. And we can also see it if we go into our console capture version now. So if we go here, we see that. And oh golly, where did I just put that fixture? And then, oh, it had auto update turned off, so that didn't work. So let me turn on auto update. Had it turned off for my classes so students don't accidentally mess it up. I just hadn't turn it back on for what we were doing. Aha, there, with auto update on, we can now see that it actually appeared in our console. So if we hit locate, we can see the light coming out of it. Let me go back to so you guys can see that also. There we go. So now we can see that we have it in the full version of Capture as well as Titan. And we can drag it around in here, and then it'll drag around in Titan, and we can set it wherever we want it. Now, doing that conversely, doing it the other direction, doesn't work quite the same, I believe, but we'll try it anyways. Library, fixtures, and let's see here. Let's go to filter it. There we are. We'll just do it with another BMFL blade, and we'll drag it in and drop it here. Go back to our design and put it on the right layer so we can see it. And then if we go back to, obviously we've got it added in there. Oh, we got to actually give it a patch here. So if we in capture go to patch and we patch it to 20.100, should put it on line 20, channel 100, and it did. So now if we go back to Titan and we go to patch, active fixtures, CIT visualizers, capture, and then that's going to try to patch them all. I believe that it doesn't work quite like this for this way, so yeah, I messed that up. So let's go back to our full version of capture, and we'll just delete this fixture for now, and delete this one also. So if we were to start a new show file, we can import our patch from capture. So we'll go ahead and do that in Titan here. We'll do disk, new show, and let's name it test 2, and we'll hit OK. So now we can see we got a completely blank show file in Titan. Our capture show is still there. So we did all this work in capture before we even got to a console or before we pulled out Titan. What we can do now is if we go to Titan, we go to patch, active fixtures, and then from a list here, choose CITP visualizers, which capture would be in this case. You can see that it's got the capture at Cato Vision, which is the name of my server over here, and as well as its IP address. So we can click that, and we can use the fixtures DMX address, or we can give it new ones as we go. We're just going to leave it on use what's already there. And user number, we can use source, or we can specify, and then we can just hit the patch button in here, and we'll see that it pulls in all 148, 160 fixtures that are in the show file. So we exit out of here, we can see we've got all our groups and all our fixtures patched. Of course, I have to go through and organize it now. But what's nice also is if we do open workspace window, capture visualizer, we'll see that it automatically puts everything just like it is in the full version of capture already. So you don't have to even position your fixtures in Titan. You're already done. So, any questions then where we are so far? Last thing I see is from Sam replying to Nigel. Is it safe to run full capture and Avo on the same computer? I always find that it works better on separate cons and separate computers. I have less trouble when I'm trying to run them on the same one. As you see in the group, a lot of times you try to run them on the same computer and you just run into bashing your head into a wall, trying to figure out why it isn't working, and then it suddenly starts working. So I've always been happy to have it on two separate computers. Looks like Cully may also be answering some of those questions. Again, thanks to Facebook, I don't seem to be seeing them all. So let me see if I close the stream over here and then reopen it on my iPad and see if it gives me all you guys' comments again. Yes, I see Cully answering now. I see Juan say he hasn't been able to do that. Again, like I said, it in theory can be done, but it does quite often run you into bashing your head into the table for hours on end until it suddenly starts working. I have luck that I always have my MacBook Pro and then my Titan computer, and I just run capture on my MacBook Pro and then run Titan on my PC that I have dedicated for that. So, any questions to where we are for anyone else for this point? Take a short minute here while I take another couple sips. The other thing I'll say about running them on two separate machines is that with running them on two separate machines, you're not trying to make the computer's horsepower do double work, would run all the horsepower to run Titan and all the horsepower to run Capture. If you run it on two separate machines, you get each horsepower for each. You can make your Titan machine can be a little lower spec, and your dedicated Capture machine can be super spec. What I use is a machine that I built up, and I also use as my own personal AI server. But it's got an i7 3 gigahertz, I believe, in it, and a GeForce TI or a 2080 Ti RTX card in it. I splurged a little bit last year when those came out and got myself one. Steve, honestly, for the full version of Capture, I would, and I'm very much so a Mac guy. I built a PC specifically to be able to do Capture and AI on it. My Mac is great for doing the design work. When it comes to actually running Capture, so much happier on my PC. And Jay, right, Jay is correct. It does cover both. I have the one license, and I have it on my MacBook Pro and my server over there. So, any other questions on Capture? We'll kind of keep it Capture internal or external. Kind of keep it in this realm today. Just kind of all about all things Capture. A lot of the stuff isn't nearly as hard as others try to make it. Let me reopen my favorite little show file I had running. I know. I should. Yeah, no one wants to see my ugly mug, Ruben. We'll just keep it. I'll be the mysterious guy just behind the scenes. I've got a voice for radio and a face for radio also. A solo version of 2019 would be the full version of Capture One. When I say full version of Capture, I mean the external Capture that you buy from Capture, not the internal Capture visualizer. So when I say full, I just mean that, whether it's solo, duet, symphony, or whatever their other levels are now. I personally have symphony as the idea of buy once, cry once. I bought the big version and didn't have to worry about updating it at some point down the line when I needed more universes or whatever. Lewis, how do I get, Robert, I'll come back to yours in 1 second. Lewis, how do I get the video wall to playback and capture? Well, in this particular show file here, the video wall isn't a video wall. It's Elation QPix panels, which is why you can see the stuff on the back wall. For the full version of Capture, when using actual video walls, I send NDI from AI to Capture. I don't have my AI install is a little jacked up right now because I winked it out the other day, uh, so I don't have AI ready to show and pull up at the moment. But I use NDI from AI to send it into Capture and show it up on the video wall panels. Robert, how do I move the internal visualizer on Titan Mobile to a second screen? Just like you do with any window in Titan, you want to move to a second screen. Unfortunately, I don't have two screens hooked up to my Titan Mobile right now. But if we had our visualizer window selected like we do here, so it's got the silver bar and not the gray bar. If we go to the brain fart. The gear icon here on the console or on the window. We'll see where it says screen. You have main window. If I had a second screen here, it would be here and say secondary window. I can simply click on that. It would move it to my external. Or if you look at your console, you'll have the where it says size position in the upper right-hand corner near soft key A on the actual console. You'll see this as size position, and above it has some text that says other screen with an up arrow. If you press the Avo key and then hit that, it'll move whatever window you have selected to your secondary screen. You also have to make sure that in the system settings, you go to display setup and set external display to connected. If you had one connected, I do not to this machine because we'll see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 monitors already on my desk. I don't have room for a ninth. I just muted you guys for a second. I mean, Jerry, I suppose you could screenshot it and do that. Usually, when I go to do, we'll do Set Legend in a day or two. I can't remember what my exact schedule is on that. If you go to avolites.us and go to our training page, you will find it has a list of the upcoming classes. And actually, here we can pull that up on this computer. We go here and we go to and we'll make that one full screen. And we go to down here to sign up for Titan training. See that I have a list of what I'm going to do every day. You see today everything is all capture. Tomorrow will be customizing fixture layout and groups and set legend. This should also be posted up on the Avolites online resources soon. I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet, but hopefully soon that will happen. And you guys can also reference it there. I'll also try to announce them each night before the next day, so you've got the ability to see it there. Jack, you can buy it through Group One. I would just contact one of your sales guys, either talk to Mr. Ruben Lane, who seems to be in the room here, or Brad White, who is apparently hiding from us today. But you can always go to him also and get that. Also, technically in the U.S., Elation is the distributor for capture. They allow us able guys to handle it too because their captures are good guys. But you can also contact an Elation dealer, or if you are an Elation dealer, for them, or as Sam here for UK customers, you can go to training there. So Cully was just asking me in a message if I talked about connecting capture and Tighten the networking part. I did not cover that. I suppose we could go. I don't really want to get into that until we get into the networking part of it. But basically, my network here is just my capture computer's got an IP of 2.0.0.9. My Titan computer's got a IP of. Let's see what I set it to because I don't remember. Of 2.0.0.7. I've set both of their subnet masks to 255.0.0.0, but we'll do networking in the upcoming weeks. If you look at that list, you can see them and get it there. Cade, patching a camera. Sam, no cameras. And yes, Ruben can help you buy it also because he is super handy dandy like that. Any other questions we can try and answer for you guys before we close this one out today that have to do with capture? Unless you're getting bored with that, let's put up a cue list and hit go. Oh, patch a camera in capture. I know it can be done, but I've honestly never done it. I've done DMX movers, but I haven't done that. Thanks for the code there, Ruben, with Cade Rocks as a 10% code. I'll let this scene run for a little bit while we continue talking. I suppose, let me see if I can find this camera to do quick and easy, just because I don't remember how. Actually, can I do it in Titan? Oh, yes, you can just patch in a camera like this. Well, make it real easy then. We'll do capture extended camera. We'll do 18 channel because why not? And then we'll patch it to, we can go right there. That works. So we do patch. So now if we exit out of it, and we go to see if we can find our group there, all camera, and then hit position. I don't think I have control of that camera correctly in capture to show it moving around because again, I've actually never done that. This one. They're both coming up as unpatched. So, what was it? It was 11.451. Enter. There we can see it's moving around in this version of capture here. So if I go to screen one here on it and on Titan, I've got it just on pan and tilt. So if I pan it, we can see it's moving the gamma view. And actually here we'll make this one go live view, and then make it full screen. And then if we, it might be a little too close. Let's see if we can zoom out. Well, that's fun to play with. I'll have to actually play with it sometime, and maybe we'll have another poke camera at capture another time since I'm doing a terrible job with it over here. Sorry, Juan, where does it say no vid? Oh, that is just the name of the viewport that I'm using for no vid, because it meant that it has no video wall, because I was when I was editing this show file or this capture file to be also be able to use Synergy to have an actual video wall rather than QPix panels, and that's just the filter that is being used in capture. It's okay, Sam. Something I had never played with, and since one thing part of these classes is that all we have is time, something we can play with. Can you use some phallic images on the pixel mapper, please? I would, but we're trying to keep it a semi-family show here today. Otherwise, I would just to be silly and fun, but not today. But I will say, having done training classes all across the United States, there is not at least one student in every class that during pixel mapping or set legends that does not make more than one phallic image using those two things. Thanks, Jeremy. I'm just glad we can do it. It sucks that everyone's stuck at home and not out there making the dollars and in pounds and pesos or whatever money your particular country uses, and that we're all stuck home doing this. But at least we can hang out and have a little bit of fun and all learn a thing or two. Like, I knew you could control the camera from capture, but never actually done it. I'm going to have to actually experiment with it now and learn. I know it's nice for if you when you're controlling the cameras, you can put it into your cue lists if you're making a video to a song to try to sell it to a client and have the camera pan and move around and all that stuff to make it look like it's a super hardcore rock video and have fun with it. I'm not exactly sure what you mean there, Sam. But Cully did bring up something in the messenger for me to show you guys. So console link is not always automatic. When I actually fired everything up today, it linked up just by itself with no fuss and no muss. But if we go to our main capture window, and I'm going to set this view back to plot rather than that. If we go to our universes tab, see down here at the bottom, console links actually said it's disabled, probably because I restarted, reloaded that show file. We can set it back to this, and we see that it. There's the. That's why the capture didn't patch for us a minute ago. I'll just close that for right now. But if you had more than one console on here, you would see it. Like when I do my training classes, I'll see all 6 consoles there. So we have to make sure we select the right one for the class to have it connect to it. And that's how you can make sure that when I select things on Titan, if I select hit clear on this, and if I was to select our all BMFLs, how it would select on both. And that's where you would see that in the fixture, the project console link here on capture under the universes tabs. It's also where you can see all your universes. This show file is set up to use 18, I believe. It's got quite a few universes on it, and it seems to be okay. Nice to know you showered before joining us, Tim. the other thing that Carly was asking me to mention to you guys, since we both have to support you when we're out there in the real world trying to do this by yourself. Sometimes if the CITP link doesn't seem to be showing up, like when we were in Titan here, when we were going to the patch and then active fixtures, CITP visualizers. If it doesn't appear here, try restarting both. Restart capture, sometimes just restart the whole machine, sometimes restart your whole Titan machine, whether it be one of the consoles or your computer. Sometimes that can help bounce them. It's also very important in networking, which we'll get into later in these classes, would be to make sure you use a switch and a gigabit switch. Just running two cables together. I've had it work before. I've also sat there and bashed my head into a wall trying to make it work, and then suddenly it'll just start working, and then just as suddenly it'll stop working again. But when I use the switch, I have many, many less problems, and usually just a restart of both Titan and Capture solves the problem out, and it all just starts working as it should. It's also gotten better in the later versions of Titan 13, particularly here. I didn't have to fight it at all. It worked straight away today without any fuss or any muss, and that made me pretty darn happy. Yes, and Kelly also bring up, go ahead and disable those firewalls. As a rule on my Titan machines and AI and server machines, I just keep the firewall off, period, so I don't have to even bring, that's not even a concern of mine anymore, so I always just leave them off. And yeah, though you can do it wireless, wired always seems to be a little bit happier. It just less fuss, and you get the larger bandwidth to not have to cope with it. Here in the mission control here, I've got actually two different networks set up. I've got my ArtNet network, which is running on actually a monoprice gigabit switch because it's in the office here, and if things go down, it's not show critical. But when I'm out on shows, I always use an entertainment class switch. I usually use a Titan Net switch because, well, I like to stay on brand. I've also got an Apple time capsule handling my wireless and hardwired out to the internet to get to you guys through Open Broadcaster. Well, if no one has any more questions, I might just go ahead and call this a day for today. Let's see, Randall's got something here. I want to see some other cues in the show file you're currently running with the full capture and to internal capture on view. Okay, so I'll let me get internal capture open on this. Oops. And we'll hit clear here, so we'll deselect everything. We'll go ahead and release. Just release it. And then we'll fire up this cue list and hit go. And we'll let that sit up there for a moment or two. And then hit go. 1 second, Robert, and I'll try to help talk you through it. And then I'll hit go again. And again. And again. And this is not the most hardcore rock and roll show file. It's more just for me demoing quick things with students and then make them program stuff that looks better than I do. So it's a lot of really flashy and really trashy. Let's see here. And that's all the way through that particular show file. Robert, hey, why don't we do this? Since it's really hard to troubleshoot over the internet like this while I'm on live stream, why don't you give a call to the support line uh, in a minute here, or once we get off stream, the 682 AVO team. Let me type that so you can actually see it. And that's our U.S. support line, and you can just call me, and we'll talk we'll talk about it and talk you through it rather than try to do it through support on this, where there's a goodly delay. Yes, Jeremy, that show file is a lot of push button and get banana because it is nothing super fancy. That's for doggone sure. And for anyone who's not a U.S. Based user, if you do want to go to the support line in the U.S., that's fine here. If it's calling it, it's really really late. In the U.K., you're free to call here. Just do remember that time zones are a thing, and that I live in the Mountain Time zone, so calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning is going to make me rather grumpy with you. Well, if there's nothing else, we might just go ahead and call this one a day for today. I'd like to thank everyone again for coming out and blow in here. Let us have a little bit of play, and we'll be in tomorrow. Again, we are going to do the tomorrow's going to be. Let's pull it back up since now I don't remember. Tomorrow's class will be on 4.2, customizing your facial layouts and groups and set legend. And that's what we'll play with tomorrow. And we'll have a good old time with that. Again, thanks for coming out, guys, and catch you next time.